So let's look at these first few problems. First of all, 3 times 2, what's the answer? So go ahead and write that. Now I want you to stop and look at the next problem and be ready to tell me your thoughts. Did you look at it? Okay, so does anyone have anything they want to share about their thoughts? Tony?
What do you mean by thoughts?
Like, what do you think the answer is?
6.
Okay, she thinks it's 6. Do you agree with her?
Yeah.
Okay, so why did you come to that conclusion? Tony?
Because 3 times 2 is 6, times 10 is 60, and then it's just divided by 10, which is 6.
Good. So she just did the math going straight across. How many of you just did the math going straight across? And you're good at math, aren't you? Okay. Did anybody do it a different way? 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 10 is 60. 60 divided by 10 is 6. That's what most of you did. What did you do?
I seen the 2 tens there, so I left that, and then I seen the divided sign, so I just did them times 2.
Okay, so Cecil saw the 2 tens, and he did 10 divided by 10. What's that?
1.
1. So 3 times 2 times 1 is 6, okay? All right, there's another way to look at it. If you have times 10 and divided by 10, it's like they don't even exist. They cancel each other out. So that's what Cecil was thinking. Because if I have this problem, 5 plus 3 plus 4 minus 4, would I just ignore the 4s?
Yeah.
I certainly would. So the same thing works on multiply and divide, okay? Now, that's enough about the tens. Let's solve the problems. So if I'm going to do 3 times 2.5, I'm going to think of that as 25 what? Not ones, tenths. I'm going to think of that as 25 tenths. So I'm going to do 3, everybody write this down, 3 times 25 tenths. And that equals, now someone said think of the quarters to get the answer, right? That equals what, boys and girls? 75 what? Tenths. How do I write 75 tenths? 7.5. Okay, so this is a little review of decimals. All right, so I've got 5 times 3 tenths. It's going to give me 15 what? 15 tenths. How do I write that as a decimal?
1.5.
Okay. What about 2 times 3.4? That's not going to be 34 ones. What is it going to be?
34 tenths.
34 tenths. So if I have 34 tenths times 2, help me do the math here. 4 times 2 and 3 times 2. So 68 tenths. I'm going to pull a stick here. Javier, how do I write 68 tenths?
6.8.
In standard form. Good, 6.8. Okay, so do you understand? If you multiply and divide by the same number, it's like they don't even exist. They didn't even happen. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at these number bonds. This is just a little review of number bonds, okay? But we're going to use decimals. So I've got 7.463. Everyone write that in the top of the first number bond. Actually, it goes in the top of all 3 of them. Okay, now we're just decomposing numbers. So if I take out the ones, take out the 7, I've got 7 ones, and how many thousandths are left?
463.
So 463 thousandths. Now go straight across. Just take out the tenths and watch how I'm doing this. I circled the all the way to the tenths place. Did you see me circle it? So that gives me how many tenths?
74.
And how many thousandths? Okay. So now if I take out the hundredths, what am I going to circle all the way to? The 6, right? So 746 and 3 thousandths. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to try this next one on your own. Okay? And we'll check it together. Whoops. So on this first one, how about table 5? Can you tell me, what do I write in the ones place?
8.
And what do I write in the thousands?
972.
Very good. Okay. And how about table 2? Can you help me with this one over here? What do I write in the tenths?
8.
89.
Yep.
I don't have to put the decimal in because it's unit form. On unit form, we take the decimal out and write a word, don't we? Okay? So what do I write in the thousandths, table 2?
72.
Good. Okay? So I know you're dying for me to ask you to say it, aren't you? How about everybody else? What do I write in the hundredths here?
897.
Okay? And what do I write in the thousands?
2.
Okay. Okay, so if we had a 5th grade craft club like this question talks about, I would want to be in charge of it because crafts make me happy. We don't have one, but it's a thought, isn't it? So I'm going to read this question. It says, the 5th grade craft club is making aprons to sell. Each apron takes 1.25 yards of fabric that costs $3 per yard and 4.5 yards of trim that costs $2 per yard. What does it cost the club to make one apron? That's the first part of it, okay? Now, my question is mathematical words inside the problem. We need to find them and we need to determine what they mean. So you have one? Anybody? What do you think, Jason? You're close. Each is down here, okay? It's not in the part I just read, but he's on the right track with the word each because it tells me what I'm going to do. Javier, what do you think?
Per yard.
Per. Do you guys remember that when you see the word per, it means you're going to multiply? And if you didn't remember it, you know it now. Put a box around per, okay? All right, very good. So I'm going to make a tape diagram, and so are you. Mine's going to be better than yours because I'm on my board. And I have a rectangle tool. It's my lucky day. Okay, so what is the first part of this question asking?
What does it cost to
Make one apron, okay? So, real quick here, let's get the question mark up above. Now, I wish I would have brought my apron because my mom actually made me an apron that has trim on it. And I can show you what it looks like, but I'm going to draw it. You don't draw this, okay? But an apron is a little bit like this. I mean, it's not exact, but... And then this part goes around your neck, and then you tie this part around your waist, right? Okay? And that's the fabric right here. This, my mom put some little trim on the bottom. And it's just this little up and down stuff, zigzag stuff. And you can put some trim wherever. And I don't know where they're putting the trim on their apron. I have no idea, okay? But that gives you an idea of the difference between the fabric and the trim, okay? So each apron has how many parts? We have to buy 2 things. What are we buying? We're buying the trim and we're buying the fabric. So I'm going to put an F in the corner for fabric. I'm going to put a T in the corner for trim. Okay, so how much fabric do we need? 1.25 yards, right? And how much trim do we need? 4.5 yards. Okay. And how much does the fabric cost?
$1. No.
So we're going to take this one times 3. And how much does the trim cost? So we're going to take that one times 2. Now we're going to do 2 little math problems. This is back from Module 1, where we did decimal place value times the whole number. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And we said if I multiply times the whole number, my place value stays the same. So I'm going to make 2 problems here, and I want you to do it like I am for right now. Okay? So 1.25 times 3 and 4.5 times 2. Okay? And do you remember that one of the strategies was we could underline the digits that are behind the decimal? And then however many are underlined in the problem, we'll underline that many in the answer. Okay, so go ahead and do the multiplication. And then after I underline those digits, I put the decimal in front. You remember that? Okay. And when you multiply, you don't just bring the decimal straight down, you actually have to count. Okay? Now, so that means I've got this much fabric and this much trim. And it's actually a money amount. Because, look at that, $3. Okay? Now, somebody tell me what place value money has to be in.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. There has to be 2 decimal place values, correct? Okay. So, something's wrong with this.
You don't need the zeros.
Okay, it's 9, isn't it? It's 9, okay? So, look at this. If I follow the rules for adding with decimals, where do I need to put my 9? In the ones place, for sure. So go ahead and line those up and add it and see what you get. Oh, I put multiply by accident, guys.
That's what I
we
put.
we need to add it because that'll give us the total amount. Okay, so that's $12.75. Now I want to show you a mistake I saw. Don't write this, but this is a mistake I saw. So what mistake did that child make? Braden.
She didn't line up her decimals.
Good. It was actually a he. But that child did not line up their decimals, and if they would have, watch this. It wouldn't have mattered if I knew that it was $9 or not, because if I line up my decimals, am I still going to get $12.75? Yeah. Okay. So now, this is the hardest part for kids to understand. So the whole apron costs $12.75, okay? That's how much it costs to make it. And if I'm going to sell it, if I sell it for $12.75, I'll make 0 money on it. And I will have spent all that time sewing it, okay? So I want to make some money when I sell it. Now this problem says, if the club wants to make $1.75 profit, that means how much money they're going to make when they sell it. How much should they charge? Now Rowan, I need an idea here. How do I figure this out?
So,
I mean, I can ballpark this and say, hey, let's charge about $20 per apron and we'll make some money. But they want to make exactly $1.75. So what do you think, Jaden?
Maybe you could add the $12.75 with the $1.75.
I agree with you. You guys agree with Jaden?
Yeah.
And why do I keep writing a multiplication sign?
Because that's what we do.
I know. Okay, but when I do addition, I've got to line up decimals. So add that up and see what you get. So how much do I need to charge per apron? $14.50. You know what I do? I just rounded up to 15 so I didn't have to deal with the quarters.
Yeah.
And counting change back.
Honestly, that's what I would do.
You do the same thing? Okay. All right. So that's a pretty good problem. I'm going to pause it and tell you a quick story about a 5th grader we had one.
Lesson?
No. Okay, so we are going to multiply with decimals today, but we're not using the area model. So go ahead and put an X through the area model. And I'm going to write this problem down, and I'm going to make sure the decimal's on top for right now. It doesn't matter because these are both 2 by 2, right? But I'm going to make sure the decimal's on top for right now because you know what I'm going to do with that? Whoops. You know what I'm going to do with that decimal? I'm going to take it out. And I'm just going to call this 24/10. So everybody write that down and save yourself room. At the top to regroup and at the bottom to multiply. And we're taking it times 43. Now before we do that, before we do the actual problem, we're going to round these numbers and multiply to get an estimate. So if I round to the highest place value here, I look at the 3 to decide that the 4 will stay the same. So 43 rounds to, okay, the main reason I'm underlining and circling is because of this decimal. So if I look at the 4 to decide about the 2, now flex your muscles like a hero, digits to the right, change to 0. So what am I going to write on the line for 2.4? What does it round to, boys and girls? 2. We don't need the decimal and the 0. So 40 times 2 equals 81s. Okay? Now, can you do 2 by 2 multiplication? You can? Of course you can. Go ahead and do that problem. I'm going to redo my turtle head. Check yours with mine here in a minute, okay? Try not to look at mine until you're finished. Okay, now I'm a little confused because I had an estimate of 81s and now I have 1,032 for an answer. But I'm forgetting something. I am. And this is how I want you to write it all day today on every problem. You're going to put the word tenths there and put an equal sign in a line. Now, what's my little trick for figuring out tenths? Underline 1 digit. Put the decimal in front. So my answer is 103.2. Is that fairly close to 80? Yeah. How far away is it? 23.2. Okay. So I have kids that think they want to skip this right here. It's sort of the most important thing, isn't it? To put the place value on there. If you take a decimal out, you have to write the place value, okay? Now, I know a bunch of you just want to do it like we did on the application problem where we underlined and then we underlined, but not yet. Let's practice without the decimal to start with. Okay, let's do another one. So this one's very similar. 3.5. If I round that, I'm going to pull a stick. I round that to the nearest whole number or the highest place value. Emma, what is it going to be? So, whoops, look at the 5 to decide about the 3. Okay. So, what am I going to write on the line? 4. And then 42 rounds to what?
40.
So, 4 times 4.
16.
Add a 0. Go ahead and write the word ones here. We don't want to get confused and think that's 160 tenths. Okay, now do you remember the way we're going to do this?
Take the decimal out and write tenths.
Take the decimal out and write tenths. You have to write the actual problem. Okay, go ahead and do the math and check yours with mine. Are we even closer on this one to the estimate? We actually are. How far away are we this time?
13.
13. 13, so that's closer. Okay, do you have a question? Okay, what's your question?
What would happen if you flip the numbers? Would you still get the same?
Yeah, it's the old switcheroo.
Okay.
You're just not going to have these exact same partial products. So here's what Cecil said. He wants to know if he puts 42 on top and 35 on the bottom, will you get the same answer?
Yes.
Yes, you will. What property is that? The old switcheroo. What's it called, though? Starts with a C. Commutative property. Okay? Commutative property. Okay, let's do one more. Then you're going to
I was thinking of
work on the problem set with the partner. Okay, this one's a little different. How is it different?
because it
It has 3 digits. Okay? We're going to put the longest number on top. Is this still the 10th place?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I write this, I'll write 156 tenths. Now don't do the problem yet, because we have to round. Let's round to the highest place value. So I'm going to circle the number in front, right? And I'm going to underline the 5. The highest place value. So Jaden, what does the 5 tell me to do with the 1? So it'll be 2. Now flex your muscles like a hero. Digits to the right, change to 0. Okay, so what are we writing on the line?
20.
20. Okay. And what does 73 round to? So 2 times 7. How many zeros?
2.
So this is going to be 1,400 ones. Okay, now what is my actual problem? So I have 73. Okay, can you do this? Of course you can. Okay, go ahead and get started. I'm going to pause it for a few seconds. Okay, those of you who are finished, correct me if I make a mistake, okay? What? How am I doing? Okay. Okay. So, did you get 11,388 tenths?
Yes.
Okay. And if I show tenths place, that's 1 place value. Place the decimal in front of it. So I've got 1,138.8. All right. Now that's a few hundred away from 1,400, but it's not bad, is it? No. Okay. What if I would have placed a decimal here? By accident showed hundredths instead of tenths. Would that have even made sense with my estimate?
No.
No, because my estimate is in the thousands and this is only in the hundreds. Okay? All right, so here's what I want you to do. I think they're having a meeting. So we're just going to quickly grab a problem set. We'll do one together and then you're going to work with a partner on the rest of them. Okay? So, okay, let's take a look at the problem set. Now, first thing I want to talk about is that you get to cross off using an area model. You just get to use standard algorithm. Actually, I could leave using on there, couldn't I? Solve using the standard algorithm. But we're still going to estimate. So if I round to the highest place value, I'm going to look at the 2 to decide about the 2. 22 rounds to what?
20.
Okay. And 2.4? Jason, what does that round to? 2. So 24 times 2 is? Why did I write 80? It's 40 ones, isn't it? Okay, make sure you put ones out there. Okay, now I know you don't have a lot of room. So if you want to rewrite the problem over here, you can. That way you have room to do everything, but it's totally up to you. So I'm going to write 24 what here? Tenths. And my answer is going to be in the tenths place, and I want you to do it the same way we just did. This is almost too easy.
This is
My. Okay, but this is tenths equals line. How many digits do I underline for the tenths place? 1. Place the decimal in front. So it's 52.8. And what was my estimate? 40. So we're fairly close, aren't we? 12 away. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. We're not going to take time to move, okay? Just work with the people at your table. Do all the problems on the page, the front and the back of it, until I stop you. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to finish your exit ticket, which will be plenty when we get to that.
Okay.
So in looking at the exit ticket, I want to talk to you about number 2. We're not going to actually do number 2 for grade. We'll just talk about it. So put your pencils down, all of you, because I know you sneaky ones are going to try and do those other problems. Okay? But this is important stuff here. Okay? So if I take 485 times 35 and get this answer, 16,975, okay? This is ones, right? What would happen if I take 485 times 35 tenths instead? Tell your table group. What do you think is going to happen?
You would get 1,697.5. You're multiplying the same thing.
Javier, roll the die. Let's see what we come up with. Yep, roll one of those, and we'll figure out which table's going to answer.
6.
Well, there's no table 6. Roll it again. Okay, table 2. Did you have time to discuss this?
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of taking it times 35 ones, if I take it times 35 tenths, what's going to happen?
You're going to have to add a decimal.
You're going to have to add a decimal. Where should I put the decimal?
In front of the 5.
You guys agree? Yep. That shows tenths place. Okay? That's old news for you. You've done that many times, haven't you? A lot of it in Module 1. Let's take a look at the problems. Do I want you to round?
Yes.
Yeah. Having a hard time making that work, though. So look at the 3 to decide about the 3. Look at the 7 to decide about the 1. Okay? And then when you write the problem, you're going to write 332 tenths times 21. And remember, boys and girls, I want you to write your answer tenths and then equals a line on both of them. Okay? All right. Good job.